Okay, welcome to the second of our debates here from IPC Apex Expo. How to maximize overall operational efficiency, or OEE as it's called, OOE. The EMS industry, when it first started out many years ago, back in the mid-70s, basically developed with full line solutions. That then broke out into best-in-class equipment as the industry became more educated and advanced. But with some of the new technologies coming in with digitization and transformation, is that all going to go back into reverse? Here to discuss that with us today is a very eminent panel. To my extreme left we have Jeff Timms from ASMPT. Next to him we have Robert Halliday from Mycronic. Then we have Sean Robinson from Panasonic. And to my immediate left we have Johnny Nichols from Hanwha. So welcome, gentlemen. Nice to see you all. I'm going to start off with my first question, which is Hermes and CFX provide a useful backbone for the transfer of data between machines and ERP and MES systems. But can manufacturers expect to receive a richer data set when using a full-line solution from a single vendor? It's an interesting topic, so I'll let you start off with it, Jeff.
Okay, so if we look at the protocols of Hermes and CFX, it does provide a standard that supersedes the SEX GEM standard, and it has nearly replaced it on new equipment, but it provides excellent communication between machines, and because it is a standard, it makes machines from different suppliers more plug and play.
Right.
And then it also provides the interface to ERP systems. So all of a sudden, material management becomes a big piece of the puzzle.
Yeah, absolutely. What is your view on it, Robert? I mean, do you think that companies could get a richer data set using a full line solution from a single vendor, or do you think we're okay with using CFX to communicate and we'll get enough data off of just using that backbone?
Yeah, I think what you said, Jeff, is also very important. It's more plug and play, but it's more. It's sometimes not 100% plug and play. So then we leave with the customer to do a lot of integration as well, as opposed to if you buy from a single vendor. So that's one aspect of it. Another aspect is that, of course, you can get more granulated data from the machines if you buy from a single vendor. It also is a question, what do you need as a customer? Do you need that, or is it sufficient with the CFX? And the CFX is also evolving over time, and they're doing more and more data collection protocols and so on, especially for AI. I think we're going to talk about AI today too in this topic. But it's about also what you need as a customer. It goes a long way with CFX, but you can get more richer data set from single vendor. That's my opinion.
Right. Okay. Sean, do you have a view on this? Because I mean, you've all got your own independent systems. You've got, I think it's Panasim. You've got would a customer get a richer data set using all of your equipment?
Yeah, it's interesting. Industry 4.0 means something different to everybody. Some people are focused on defects, some people are focused on maintenance, and so on. So I think, to your point, it's exactly critical to understand what are the objectives the customer is trying to accomplish. CFX and Hermes on their own, even connecting up to an upper level system, there needs to be judgment. So for instance, if you had a magazine loader at the end of the line, right, and the operator forgets to actually remove it, you need to make sure that you can actually stop boards from going into the oven or they're going to cook, right? So the bottom line is there either needs to be a layer that is actually controlling the flow of production, and the protocols that you use, and absolutely I agree that CFX and Hermes help with that, but there does need to be some type of control that actually is managing the production process.
Well, that could be, I take your point. I think you're right, but it could be we just need to develop Hermes a little bit better to be able to act as that buffer.
Yeah, that's where from our point of view, a line manager is good to have, right? To be able to have visibility to all the different equipment that's in the line, and anything that you experience along that line, you can take the necessary steps to be able to control that.
Right.
And we do that,
Right.
actually.
Okay. Johnny, do you have a view on this?
Yes, sir, I do. Yeah, I think the first and foremost, having building blocks of where we're going tomorrow with being able to use artificial intelligence and things like that. I think having a fundamental building block that includes a universal standardization of communication protocols is absolutely imperative. We have to be able to all agree on what that is. And I think when we start to apply that into the systems that are available today, I think with respect to the customer's experience, are they getting a richer experience going with somebody that's providing turnkey line solutions, or are they better off buying best in class, so to speak, of individual pieces of equipment? I believe the customer is now, what they're realizing is they have a richer opportunity to use either one. There's both ways they can go, but it's all dependent on the standardization of the communication protocols. So if we start applying that and we start building systems compatible with this, and we look forward on where we can go and grow with this stuff, I think customers today have an opportunity to buy independent systems that they perceive as best in class, or they can go with a complete line solution partner. There's benefits to both. I mean, it's not a bad decision, it's not a wrong decision, but I think when you look at where the fundamental building blocks are today and what those are, i.e. Hermes, CFX, those communication protocols working with open database structure systems give people the ability to pick and choose as they wish. They can't make a bad decision, they can just make a decision that may be better fitting to what their application requirements are with respect to your point on that.
Okay. Good answers from all of you. So I want to drill down a little bit deeper into each of your independent systems. So starting back with you, Jeff, I mean, for example, with your, what do you call it, ASMP Works, is it?
Right. Yeah, the suite of software.
That's the suite of software. What would a customer expect to receive in terms of data and feedback that they wouldn't get if he was using a hybrid system?
Okay, so with the CFX and with the Hermes, it gives you a great deal of flexibility in communicating machine to machine, and then machine line to master controller, and with the ASMPT gear, we have what we call OIB, which is an interface. Basically, it's a gatekeeper for data, and virtually anything that the machines can produce can be transmitted to a higher level system.
Right.
So, connecting to an MES system. And taking that into, obviously, the requirement for doing more with less, doing more on a production line with less people is critical, right? So the predictive elements of it and understanding when things are going to run out, and also ultimately managing your material to the line.
So basically tighter material control and
Tighter material control, predictive maintenance,
Yeah.
all of the above, yeah.
Right, okay. Robert, I mean, what's the name of your line control software for your...
We have different types of software, but we call it the Micron Software Suite. And one aspect of it is that we have, for instance, with the jet printer and the SPI machine, we have a closed loop so that you can do, after you have looked at the board with a SPI machine, you can send it back to the jet printer to do repair if you don't have everything there. So there are some things that you can do if you are like a full line provider that is not supported yet by CFX. But I agree, we have also the material flow with the towers that we have and that system that is also connected to the ERP system. So for our customers, the material flow is bidirectional because it's a high mix production. So it goes into the machine and back into storage, right? Versus if you have a very high volume line, it goes into the machine, onto the boards, and then you're out.
Right.
So it's a lot of focus on that bidirectionality from our part in our part
and I
of the market.
think going back to your first point about the the jet printer, you're using that as a top-up, because a lot of the issues you get in stencil printing is missing paste or insufficiency and that sort of thing, and you're using it to top up these areas. Sean, what benefits do they get from the Panasim software that you wouldn't get from the hybrid?
Well, actually, our whole philosophy of line integration is hybrid.
Right.
We make printers, we make pick and place machines, we make through hole machines, but we don't make conveyors, and we don't make ovens, and we don't make inspection equipment.
Right.
So my whole business is all about whatever the customer wants, right? I mean, we don't work with every single supplier of every single piece of equipment, but we have dozens of different companies that we've partnered with, whether that's having a automated line changeover, whether that's a unified dashboard, whether that's a unified trace file or status of communication with the line, and so on. We also have process control that works between the different inspection equipment and our machines, and we can adjust offsets for print. We can vary the variable angle of attack angle for getting better filling force and print speed, print pressure, release. And we also, at the same time, can monitor our equipment so that if we can be certain that the equipment is in an operational state, like Jeff mentioned, where you can monitor nozzles, feeders, every subsystem of the printer, and also automate changeover. And that changeover can apply across the whole line, also within our equipment. I think the challenge is cost. Everybody has the dream of smart lines and lights out operation, but you can almost double or triple the cost of a conveyor to be able to adjust the width and change a program. And I think that's where the sticker shock, you start off in conversations about, oh my God, this wonderful line, and then all of a sudden they're like, yeah, I think I can do without that. I think I can do with this. So I think it's critical to focus on a roadmap with customers to really help them understand you can go from here to there, but maybe you want to chunk it out in a periodic investment. And I think that's what I've experienced anyway.
But I mean, I think the other thing you're getting out of these current modern systems is you're getting improved machine uptime. You're getting less delays in the line and improved changeover. So with that, I'll give it to you, Johnny.
Thank you, Trevor. Yeah, I think everything everyone has said here is very real. We have to look at what our real world is today, and certainly what's practical from a scalability standpoint. We've heard the expressions lights out factory and things like that. And can it be done? Sure, it can be done. Does everyone have the budget to support that? No, they do not. So I think when you look at where we're at today, if you look at where Hanwha is today, we have solutions like a T-Solution suite of software. That helps us optimize things at the line level. We also have integration with software more on the production floor level and then even at the enterprise level. So when we're talking about what we do for setup verification to optimize uptime and runtime on the machines, everybody's been working on that for many, many years, and we have a lot of things dialed in there. Everybody does. Closed looping things from printer to SPI, to pick and place, AOI upstream to pick and place, things like that. We have monitoring software that can enable you to look at KPIs on the printing process, the pick and place process, and the reflow process. And that's all great, but the reality is what we're looking at there is past tense. Any data that we're collecting there is on something that's already been done. So our initiative and our challenge as a company is to work on things that give us an insight into the future. So I jokingly say we're working on time traveling on our side. And what I mean by that is we want to be able to use our predictive modeling software through future integration of AOI, and we're doing this now with some software product that we have. But the idea is to be able to give you more accurate modeling and prediction of what's going to occur if you set up this way, and this way. So you can look at things like production planning on a line, where if you have 10 jobs to run today, if you have the opportunity to do what we call family setups or clustered setups or multi-job setups, okay, that's one optimization scenario you can do, right? You're going to sacrifice a little speed, but you're minimizing the downtime of the changeover on the line. Is the hardware itself ready for this? So what I mean by that is, what do you do on the printers and the pick and place when you have to move backup pins around and things like that? Are there automatic systems that are optionally available? And the answer is yes. Are there other more passive systems that are available that may look benign? They're not artificial intelligence based, but they're very practical solutions that work. So with respect to scaling our way into the future tomorrow, looking at what we have machinery hardware-wise, looking at what we're all doing dynamically with software, I think is a very promising sign of very good things to come for the assemblers of today and tomorrow. Okay.
Trevor, can I make another quick comment
absolutely.
on that? One of the keys to successful improvement of OEE is to take the guesswork out of the line. And Sean made a very good point about the printer. Typically around 70% of the defects coming off of a line are based on printer defects. So if people understand a lot about the printing process, historically, it requires a process engineer to always set things up and make sure they understand exactly how the stencil should be cut and how the underwipe of the stencil takes place, etc. Well, we have a product called Process Expert, which basically automates that process to take the guesswork out of it. And we've seen as much as a 60% decline in end-of-line defects because of automatic correction of the printing process.
Right.
And it's really well received, particularly in larger customers that have multi-shift operations, because the process engineer doesn't want to get called up at 1 a.m. because he's got too many defects coming off the line.
Right, absolutely. Yeah. No, it's a very important part for sure, and I know all of you are improving that area. How you can improve the stencil process, the printing process, and making sure that you get the paste deposits right, because that's fundamental to having a successful production line. So how do factors like workforce training, maintenance protocols, and supply chain management impact the overall operational efficiency at electronics manufacturing facilities? Let's start with you, Sean.
Yeah, I mean, the reality is it's hard to find anybody to work in our industry these days, right? Even in Mexico, they have shortages. So trying to find qualified people, we've been around long enough to remember the days where you'd have like 3 process engineers per line. Well, that doesn't if you can have 1 process engineer in the factory, you're lucky. So everything from, the maintenance process, the reliance now is on for us to be able to provide the intuition and the ability for the equipment to correct itself as best it can, but also to alert those that need to know when intervention is required. I think where we are is that knowing that I have the material, where I need it, when I need it. Some of our most efficient customers that are high volume in the U.S. have started to implement smart material management and are expecting a 5% OEE improvement just by making sure they have material at the line when they need it and being able to have like a guide-by-light system to be able to carry out replenishment. So everything from maintenance to indicate that this nozzle is not degrading to the point where it's going to become a problem, but if you take care of it in the next 2 or 3 hours, you're going to be good, right? And so you can extend the maintenance intervals for those who maintain too much, and for those that don't maintain at all. Of course, we don't have any customers that never do maintenance, but for those who go for extended times, they know what needs to be maintained to maintain reduce scrap as well as also reduce defects. Right. And all of those are capabilities that I'm sure we're all working on. Right. So,
Robert, do you have a view on that? You want to add?
If you're talking from a full line solution perspective, I mean, it's easier if you try to harmonize the look and feel and how you work with all the different machines in the line, versus if you have this best in class and so on, then you need to go to different places, you need to integrate. That's another challenge. It might be worth it, but on the other hand, if you do it from one supplier, it might be easier to get that in one go. And you can have, if you talk serviceability and so on, you can have one guy coming for service to service all the machine instead of, from different vendors. So there's that aspect. But I think the supply chain of material, that's really key, as we said before a little bit. And here you have to have the whole system geared up. We have to have the feeders and the material back and forth and the software to do that. connected to the ERP system so that you know, can I do this week's production, or am I going to be out? Because if you start something and then you realize that you're out of a single component even, then that won't be so good efficiency.
Yeah, exactly.
So that
Exactly.
some of that is, we have the small things to improve percent by percent, but also to avoid these big stops.
Right.
It's a complex world for our customers.
I know,
They have
it
lots of
is,
challenges.
and as your machines get more sophisticated and faster, you've got to be able to keep up with all that. But I mean, on the topic of workforce training and maintenance, I mean, I think you've got a fairly good system, Jeff, where you look at who's on the factory floor that can attend to an
Yes.
issue, as it were, and if
Yes,
they're qualified to do it.
Right. So if you can predict when it's going to be necessary to intervene with the production line, which we're getting better and better at all the time. There's a combination of two things, actually. As the equipment gets more and more reliable, and today it's very reliable, you hit the green button and it runs. As it gets more and more reliable, by the time a maintenance engineer or tech goes to work on the machine, they may have forgotten what they saw in training. So that requires a lot of work aids on the equipment. It requires preemptive notification. It requires identification of potentially damaged or worn parts before things start to break. And ultimately, with all of that and the ability to line balance, so you're getting the most out of every one of the units in the line, you can drive up your OEE by 25-30%.
Yes, absolutely. Johnny, do you have anything finally to add to that? Or?
Yeah, boy, there's a lot to say there. You could talk on that topic alone for several days, right? When you look at the machinery and the software, to be able to do prediction and prevention is one thing, right? To be able to say we've got reliability built into the machines so that we can have more time between maintenance intervals. But also to be able to say that you have a more progressive training program that ensures that the people that are being taught to do the maintenance when it's time to do the maintenance is a challenge for everybody, all right? Because when maintenance is done, if you increase the amount of time between maintenance intervals, well, the downside of that effect is you don't always remember the stuff as well as you do because you're not doing it week on week on week. You're doing it month on month now. But the trade-off there is uptime. You've got more uptime, you've got more productive time on your lines. So what we're working on is ways to certainly improve training and have systems available that utilizing the prediction and prevention capability on the machines. We integrate maintenance management software into the machines, so it tells you who, what, when, and where to do the maintenance on there. But more importantly, as we progress and develop our software and we bring in more artificial intelligence into the realm of what we're doing today, that's going to give us the ability, ideally, to offer a wingman to every person on that line so that when it comes time to remind them to do something or work with them in conjunction of keeping the uptime up, the idea there is to use that new technology in a way that's used differently, all right? And if we can do that, if we can increase the uptime of the line, increase efficiency, productivity, then of course we're increasing profitability on the line. So our goal is to certainly be forward-thinking about where we can go and grow with our technology, but also look at it more from the line-level perspective, all right? We want to talk about enterprise-level stuff, too, because that's where decisions are made on the capital equipment going forward, but we have to empower the people at the line with the tools that they need to be more intuitive in how they operate with the machinery, okay?
No, that's a good answer, thank you. We did touch on the topic of changeovers. I mean, changeover is also critical. I mean, it's almost like you're in a pit stop mentality there to try and get the next job on. So how can process optimization systems optimize production changeovers? Let's start with Robert on that one.
Yeah, as somebody said before here, we can. The customer can choose between optimizing for speed or for having the shortest changeover process with the family kitting and so on. I think that's pretty standard. So that's one aspect of handling that. But as I said before as well, the whole system is not only about the software. It's about how the whole system integrates with the planning and getting the components in onto the feeders and into the machine and then back again. So the changeover process is very interesting.
Okay.
But we, at least we believe it's the DNA from our company. So we've been doing that, focusing on that for a very long time.
Yeah. Okay. Jeff.
Feeder setup and feeder management programs and optimization programs are essential, absolutely essential. And what we find is that, to Robert's point, you can optimize for speed, or you can optimize for flexibility. And it essentially comes down to the strategy that you want to deploy on your line.
Right.
So for example, if you have tools that will identify common parts across multiple families or families of products, then you can have fixed feeders that don't ever change.
Yeah.
Then you can, so then from there, if you have enough space, you can put the rest of the feeders on there and not have to worry about the pit stop effect.
Right.
If you don't have space, well, then you have a combination of fixed feeders and changeover tables, and set up offline.
Yes.
And if all of that is done with a predictive tool to tell you when something's going to run out, when you need to do it, and as was said earlier, if it ties to the MES system, and you don't have a particular component, well, you go to a different product to run.
Right.
And you get the component in. But you're not loading up the entire line and waiting for a component to come into the back dock.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, well, I mean, most of these systems now, I mean, all of your pick and place machines have the ability to send alerts when you're running short on components and they're about to run out. So, I mean, that helps to trigger the material flow to the line. What's your thoughts on this, Sean?
Feeders and nozzles are the biggest challenge that we have in our industry in terms of the things that get the most work out, right? And so for us, we have developed a feeder that literally is auto-loading for the full width range of tape, and whether it's paper or plastic, and basically you can load a tape feeder in 15 seconds and you can replenish in 15 seconds. What that means is that where in the past you might have one of our customers using our traditional feeder would have two people loading up X number of carts, because that's the way they want to run their operation. You can now maybe reduce that to, instead of like two people working one shift on feeder setups, down to greatly reducing that because they're reducing it to a quarter of the time.
Yeah.
But everything that we've talked about, whether you want to be able to have, I mean, you have less operators, so setting up 14 feeder carts for your next changeover is an impractical thing, because if you have to take all that time to load up, that means you have to have people dedicated to doing that. So the concept of being able to optimize your setups based on the resources you have available means that I know with what I have on my line, I can change over 2 feeder carts and not interrupt any other part of my operation.
Right.
So it's always a moving target, right, on optimizing based on people available and based on the equipment that you have and the investment that you've made. And so I think it's going to be, that is the area where you can really focus and make a difference. And I think the most important thing also is making sure you have the material where you need it, when you need it, right? And being able to go through that process of setting up and tearing down feeders. Like you said, some of the material goes back to stock, some of the material stays at the line. Right. And trying to guide people through that process is key. And having the tools to do that is what makes us all successful, right, in what we do.
Okay. Well, thank you for that. So we're starting to run out of time a little bit, but I want to throw in one other question just here quickly, and that is that, in an era of sustainability, which is becoming much more important, reels and tapes seem well out of date. I mean, there's so much wastage, etc. There has been some approaches to try and put in automatic bulk feeders and things like that. Is that going to become a reality? Is there going to be a solution going forward, do you think, to this?
Short term, no. Okay, we are challenged with dealing with not just tape, tubes, sticks, trays, loose parts, strips of tape, right? So the higher the mix the environment, the greater the range of part presentation that you have to deal with. And as makers of pick-and-place equipment, we're challenged to not only build pick-and-place equipment that has the reliability, the intelligence in it for setup verification, the interoperability within our own native software, but also third-party software. We're also being pushed to develop machines that have a very wide component range, all right? Meaning the small, the tall up to 55 millimeters, the size, XY body size out to 200 by 130 millimeters in size, the weight of up to 300 grams. When you hold a cell phone, that's in the 200 to 250 gram weight. Imagine an SMT component that's like that. So with respect to looking at different part presentation methodology, I think someday that will change, but not in the near term. So I think we all have to be prepared to continue to address the current part presentation challenges that we have, and certainly be working on new styles of presentation to give people the reliability and ultimately the productivity they're looking for on the line. Okay.
Anybody got anything to add to that differently?
I agree with everything that he said, and right now with the push for sustainability in the industry, we're starting to see component manufacturers come at us again with bulk type components,
right,
and bulk feeding, which creates its own set of problems. But the processing horsepower for a bulk feeder today allows you to know exactly where they sit on a plate, and know exactly what orientation they are on the plate.
Yep.
Are they upside down? Are they right side up?
Yep.
Et cetera, et cetera. That combined with this convergence that's happening between wafer and SMT for system and package is pushing more of the semiconductor manufacturing into standard SMT. And this is actually quite exciting. It's the first big sea change I've seen in a long time in this industry.
Right. Interesting. Yeah, no, it's certainly we've got a lot of challenges with some of these new technologies coming in, and we are getting pushed more and more towards the advanced packaging side inexorably, and that's going to bring a whole new set of manufacturing challenges with it. Gentlemen, I want to thank you all for a great debate today. Jeff Timms from ASMPT, Robert Halliday from Iconic, Sean Robinson from Panasonic, and of course Johnny Nichols from Hanwha. So thank you very much, gentlemen, and thank you very much to our audience for watching today. Thank you.